You're listening to A Bit Later, a midlife stand-up podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ziegler, and I'm sitting down with comedians from across the globe to find out why they are pursuing stand-up comedy and what they are learning about themselves at this stage in their lives. Darcy Christ is a stand-up comedian and podcaster in Dallas, Texas. As a retired stay-at-home mom and life coach, she brings both heart and hilarity to the stage. Darcy performs all over North Texas and co-hosts the Read the Room podcast with her daughters, which is available on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Follow Darcy on TikTok and Instagram at Darcy Christ Comedy. Let's join the conversation with Darcy Christ.
I've been in Texas now a lot longer than I haven't, but I was born and raised in the Chicago area, and then ended up coming down here for college and then married a Texan. So I've been here since 1983, which is crazy. Probably well before a lot of people were born, obviously. But I've lived in the Dallas area since 93, and this is home. I don't know, have been a stay-at-home mom since 1993 and did all the mom things and raised my two girls. I have two adult daughters. And then when they left the house, I always wanted to do comedy, but I kept it really close to myself because I was kind of embarrassed about it and just shy about sharing that I had that dream, so to speak. And finally in 1999, I wish it was 19. In 2024, I finally started taking a comedy class here in Dallas at the Dallas Comedy Club and haven't looked back since then. So it's been great. I mean, that's how I started. So I don't know. I could go on and on, but I'll let you
No,
ask me some questions.
thank you. I will ask you some questions. So, a lot of folks that have been on the podcast have talked about jumping in with a comedy class.
Mhm.
So how did that really benefit you? Or what did
I
you learn? Yeah,
Yeah, I've always been funny. I mean, that's always like I have a grown niece is like my aunt is the funniest person I know has said that forever, which is the highest compliment I could ever receive.
for sure.
But I'm kind of a school kid. I mean, I loved school growing up, and then taking a class gave me the confidence because I knew I could tell a story and be funny around a table with friends, but doing it on stage in a stand-up uh, space it's a different ball game for me. So it gave me the confidence to actually know I was writing a joke, like help me with structure and stuff. And then the first class I went to, the instructor was like, yeah, and then when we have our graduation show and you're on stage, and I was like, wait, what? We're going on stage? I hadn't even really thought about that part
Right.
of it. So it helped me with the writing and the confidence that I knew how to structure a joke for the stage and not just for my group of friends.
Right, and that's often the differentiator. I was just the last interview that I did, we were talking about that about you are obviously the funniest person in your family, but sometimes we'll say we're not the funniest people in our friend group, but oftentimes that type of humor of telling a story around people you're comfortable with doesn't translate to the stage.
Yeah, no, because they know me, you know. So I can get really wound up in giving away, trying to give too much background on stage, and you don't need it. I read recently that the longer the setup, the bigger the punchline has to be,
I agree.
and I've experienced that. And when sometimes I think the punchline is worth that setup, and the audience does not. So you're like, next, okay, let's do something else with this.
And growing growing up, and you said this has always been something you wanted to try. What kind of humor or comedians were you into, like throughout your era? Who really like
Oh
inspired
wow.
you?
I remember my family growing up. My dad was really funny and could tell stories, and then my younger brother was like the clown. But I was more little quieter and then would say stuff. And actually, I kind of grew into it. But I remember sitting with my brothers and listening to George Carlin and Cheech and Chong and, watching all the variety shows in the 70s, like the Flip Wilson show and Sanford and Son, which isn't really it's not stand up, but Red Fox is definitely a stand
Right.
up comedian. Just comedy was very prevalent in my household. Um, so it was nice. And yeah, we just watched a lot of comedy or listened to it. I mean, we're talking record albums,
Hmm.
so
And that's a great era too. And
yeah.
what's funny is
Richard
like,
Pryor, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
Pryor is Carlin's my favorite. I would say Pryor's the greatest, but it's
Hmm.
like, but that era is like my parents' era. And then
Hmm.
I got to experience that through things like Nick at Night.
Yeah.
And one of the conversations I was having was that, and I'll ask you this question, do you think there's like more of a connect between like the boomer generation to millennials as opposed to like boomers to Gen Z in terms of comic sensibility?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. Um, I don't know. Why would it skip? Why would Gen Z not be? I'm like, how do you differentiate Gen Z and millennials?
I think millennials, right, are over 30 at this point. I don't know because
Yes.
I'm considered a millennial, right? And
Yeah.
I'm 40. So I like that your response to that because they came up because of people enjoying like cringe comedy, maybe more
Mm,
so now. Like I mean, and I think you should leave. I think that's a funny sketch show, and certain things. It's not like
mhm.
I'm not only listening to comedy from the 70s. That would be weird and
Sure.
impossible.
Sure.
But I think it came up with someone who was a little older. Yeah, that's who it was. It was Perry, who's 75, I think
Hmm.
now, and he was saying maybe more from his perspective, he can't relate to like new comedy. And then we got on to like, I guess it's more of what you're ingesting now that I'm kind of answering my own
Yeah.
question.
It's interesting. I love that question because I have a daughter who's 33 and a daughter who's 29. So I have um, a millennial and a Gen Z, basically a
Right.
younger millennial and an older Gen Z. Um, if you're talking about like the cringy comedy, like the bro comedy that's kind of out there right now, um, I'm thinking of Austin kind of stuff. Yeah, and I don't know if it's the female part of me and the feminist of me, but I think a lot of it is very male driven and in a not a great way. Um, so I don't know. I think things that are funny, and I think that some of that's funny, but I prefer. I'm a new comic, so I prefer to get a laugh, but I
Mhm.
prefer my laughs to be from not like a shock value. Because I think
I
it's also
agree.
hard for a woman of 62. People don't want to laugh at me that way, kind of. I think. I mean, because if I get a little too self-deprecating on stage, there's a I don't know if this is true, but this is my thought. There's a level of protection I think that some of the younger people in the audience kind of feel because I'm like their mom, and they don't want me to be too mean to myself.
Hmm.
And I think that might be a trend in comedy, especially with women altogether. But
Yeah, that's come up in a couple. The majority of interviews that I've done so far have been with women,
yeah.
with female comics, and majority actually older than the male comics I've been
Hmm.
interviewing. You make a good point about the Austin scene, some of which grew out of like the Philly scene of people that I knew from like back in the day. But yeah, it's taken a turn there of being a little too aggressive or male driven in a negative. I'm not a big
Yeah.
like Kill Tony fan or anything like
Mhm.
that's just not my thing. I don't mind things being edgy, but you cross the line to being like crude and just kind of like very low brow. Guy was never
Yeah,
really
just real
into.
low hanging fruit. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't need to hear another trans joke from a straight white man.
yeah, it's weird.
I mean, don't
It's
just
weird.
say it.
Yeah, I get it. Um, and from the self-deprecating part, I think, yeah, there needs to be some sort of balance there. Um, which I'm trying to find as well. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm a you're like a few years in. I'm really
Hmm.
like less than a year into performing, but I've been
Hmm.
around the scene for a long time, with a break there. But
Yeah.
those are really good points that you make.
It
And
is. And I think the self-deprecating, I think that's another, I'm just realizing this, like with my friends, they know who I am and that I'm joking and I'm comfortable with myself and I can poke fun, but it's on stage, it's a whole different, I don't, it's another one of those things that some things, jokes that work in your family room aren't going to work on stage so much.
right, right.
Yeah.
And on the other end of the spectrum, it's kind of like jokes from someone who's too confident
Hmm.
becomes like unrelatable. And I know there's stories of, and that goes down the line of like people becoming too famous and but even before that, like open micers kind of not having self-awareness
Yeah.
is strange to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if anyone could accuse me of having too much confidence. But maybe I might appear that way, but yeah, it's funny, yeah. You know.
So I know we get into the heady
Yeah,
philosophical
we went
comic
right
stuff.
there, which is
That's
fine.
okay. That's all right. We'll
I like
circle
that.
around that a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so for your story, so you retired and started comedy. What was life like before that? What were you doing in your career?
I've been a stay-at-home mom since
Oh,
1993. So
okay.
my career was raising kids. I did some, little side things here and there, but I always wanted to stay home and we were lucky enough to make that work. Um, So, yeah, I mean, I've done a whole lot of different things. I was a big school volunteer and did everything in the PTA possible and just yeah, running the house. I know it sounds boring, but I've kept myself pretty busy. So I had when my youngest went to college, I had a an existential crisis, like what the hell am I going to do now?
That's yeah. And by the way, stay-at-home mom is a job. You don't
Yeah,
have to
for sure.
downplay
Yeah.
that. I know that. My mom was for quite a while as well
Yeah.
with two boys. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So that existential crisis, is that where you started to, were there other things that you explored, any other arts or different
Um,
areas?
Not the arts. So I had something I was going to say, but not the arts, but before when my youngest Jacqueline went off to college, I went to Spain for 6 weeks and studied Spanish again because my degree's in Spanish. I
Okay.
was a paralegal before I had kids, um, so I went to Spain for 6 weeks, and then it kind of ignited the love of travel again. So I did more traveling, and then I became a life coach and did that for a few years, and then I started doing comedy. So yeah, I'm always doing something, something that's not just, I'm not a very, I'm a housewife, but I'm not a good housekeeper. So, yeah, I don't, cleaning the house is not what brings me joy. Having a clean house brings me joy, but not doing it myself. So, um, I've always got projects going and hobbies and things like that.
I think that tracks for people that get into stand up.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to like sit still, and you kind of, and at least with this, you do have somewhat of measurable goals. It's not really like a meandering
Hmm.
situation. And to that point, what are some of the goals that you have to beyond stand up, or where do you see this going? Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm having fun. So when I started, I saw nothing beyond a graduation show. And I had a real, especially I'll talk about this since you're about starting later in life. I had a real kind of uh, reckoning with myself. Like, is there even a place for me at 60 starting comedy? And have found that there is. And I mean, that is something that I will keep working through. Um, I'm I would like to be uh I'm an open micer now and I do showcases and a lot of stuff like that. I just got to open for a headliner in Orlando, which was really cool.
Oh,
Jessica
congratulations.
Curson, I got to open for her at a
Really?
yeah, at
That's
a
awesome.
yeah, it was really cool at one Magical Weekend event, which is a pride event. that we've been a part of for a long time. My brother-in-law, it's a family kind of event. Um, so that's how I got that connection. I mean, she didn't search me out.
That's
Who's a
okay.
random new comedian I could bring up and to open for me? But that was a great thing. So and I'm starting to host more and getting to go down to Waco tomorrow to host for a headliner down there, a local headliner down there. So I would love to just do more time and be on more stages and more, just more. I don't have like because it gets scary because everyone in comedy that I've heard is like, you can't really do anything until 10 years. If you got to be 10 years in and then you'll be doing more and more. And I'm like, I don't know if I got 10 years, I just want to do what I'm doing now, just want more.
That's
I
great.
don't know if that makes a,
No, that's cool to hear. I
yeah.
think everyone's goal is different. Some people are doing this to get into writing. Some people are practicing their craft. Other people, yeah, it's a springboard to whatever kind of entertainment. But there is more beyond the open mics and showcases. And obviously, sticking with being a comedian, the more I guess would be larger audiences, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
getting to that theater level, which would be that really interests me. I think getting like there,
Yeah.
that would be really cool. Um, I'm sure it'll take a while, but
Yeah. No, that would be really cool. I get really afraid of like speaking that into the world for some reason, but I would love to, you know, be touring myself, like people like, I'm going to see Darcy Christ, not, oh, I saw this new comedian that opened for, you know, someone else. Anyway, which is it's great
right.
too. But I don't know.
Well, it's interesting to see the development of for fans of comedy though, when you are opening for a bigger name
Hmm.
and you shine, I think that it immediately creates new fans and like Caitlin Palufo has a special
Oh,
out this week,
okay.
I noticed. And my girlfriend and I have seen Mateo Lane a few times, and
Okay.
she's opened for him, so we became fans of her.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to watch that. So I like to see that development as well.
Hmm.
And I've watched that, with like larger names, and it's always really cool to see that. Like that's the tangible part of it, I
Yeah.
guess.
See them come
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. It's good for you with
It's
that
cool.
goal. I wanted to ask you something else. Sorry. Um, Going back a little bit to what you said earlier. So growing up, you said it was like a funny household. What did
Mhm.
your dad do, or what do you like remember about him being funny?
Oh, it's a mixed bag, Steve. It was funny, but it was also very alcoholic and very violent.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
no, that's okay. I mean, it's all part of it. But my dad could tell a story, and he would make people laugh in very inappropriate ways. There was a lot of stuff that I would. He's gone now, but there was a lot of language that would never fly now, and I would never allow in my house. But he he was a well he was a happy drunk until he wasn't, and then
Mm,
he was the life of the party and telling jokes and just lots of big laughs and until yeah,
I
he
got
got sober, but young times in my home were a mixed bag of a lot of chaos.
okay.
Trauma makes you funny though. I'm like, trauma makes you, it makes you really funny or really not funny.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't want to get on my story, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to draw more from my upbringing as well. And
Hmm.
luckily, I didn't face that, but it was like a very loud, blue collar Italian household in the 1980s and 90s. So
Yeah.
it's certainly rough. Um, with your brothers, were you how many children, and are you the only daughter?
No, there's five of us.
Okay.
So it was chaotic just from sheer numbers as well. But
Yeah.
I have my two sisters and a brother, and then me, and then a younger brother. So it was, for some reason, Steve, it was the girls, the boys, and Darcy when my parents would describe their kids, because I was kind of the tomboy in between the two
Okay.
boys. But yeah, so there was a lot of roughhousing, and we were all into sports, and the arts weren't really a thing, but humor was definitely valued.
Hmm.
If you could make people laugh in the family, it was a good, it was a good thing.
Yeah,
So,
I think you have to, and well, not even only in that situation, but with so many people,
yeah.
um, and that's so common. I feel like for your generation of
Hmm.
like my mother has three siblings, my father has four, all
Yeah.
boys. Like there's just and you can kind of now that I'm older see those personality of like imagine what they were like as kids. Probably
Hmm.
like they're I don't think the pecking order necessarily changes. Like the girls, the boys, and
Oh,
Darcy makes sense.
yeah.
Now you're standing out as a comic. So like you have
Hmm.
this your own unique personality. So that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, and it's interesting because my husband comes from six kids and I come from five kids. So I feel like it helps us understand this, like when we're all together, which doesn't happen very often, but it's kind of it's crazy in a wonderful way. But
Yeah.
it's people who don't grow up with a lot of siblings are like, this is so loud. Um,
Right.
and they're right.
Yeah, they are right, but
So,
there's something to yeah, when you grow up in like a loud environment, whether it be family, friends, or whatever, I think that
mhm.
certainly influences comedy in a positive way of like the
Yeah.
way you're able to handle a room or just react to the chaos
Yeah.
around you.
But
As
I
you
was
see.
the kid that let everyone else do it, and I'd be like watching and just taking everything in. I was kind of the one watching and taking mental notes, I guess.
I can relate
Yeah.
to you on that.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah,
I was
that's
more quiet. I'm not so much anymore, but I was pretty
right.
quiet as a kid. Yeah.
But that's a skill that you need too, of like just that's observation and you're then spouting that out in comedy too. So
Well,
that's
yeah,
great.
and our we haven't gotten there yet, but it's reading a room. When you grow up like that, you learn how to read a room, and or I did,
Yeah.
and that's what we called our podcast with my daughters. So there you
And
go.
that is yeah, that's where I wanted to go next, actually talking about family. So your daughter, is it Madison started comedy after you?
Madison started comedy after I did.
Yeah.
I kind of lassoed her into it. Both of my daughters grew up performing. They're both very musical, and Madison has her degree in vocal performance, and Jacqueline sings beautifully, and they both play piano and all this stuff. Um, and so when I got into, and they're the funniest people I know. So when I got into comedy, Madison is local to Dallas, so I said, "You need to do this," and I kind of brought her to an open mic and said, "This is," and she's like, "Okay, I think I can," and she's amazing. She's doing great. So anyway, Jacqueline will not, she does not, she's the funniest of the three of us, but she's like, I'm not doing stand up. So I think she wants to keep her own identity a little bit. But we did
Okay.
start a podcast together, the three of us.
Right. I've been watching some of it. It's
Oh,
funny.
great.
I like the dynamic between the three of you, and
No,
it's
thanks.
nice to just I mean it's a conversational podcast.
Yeah.
So growing up, were they, you said they're the funniest people that you know. Like, what did you see humor, or how did it play a role in your household growing up, or when they were kids?
I think part of it, Steve, is that when they were younger, they had a lot more freedom to speak than I did or any of my sister or any of my siblings. Our generation, it was like, more of people talk about it. I could never speak to my parents like that. And I couldn't have spoken to my parents the way they did to me and do to me, but it works because there's a freedom and they're allowed to express themselves. And even as kids, I mean, they weren't, I don't know. I don't know. I allowed them to be themselves and they're funny. I mean, they just would say stuff that some of it's kind of like performing stuff because they both like to be, have an audience. Turns out I do too, which I never knew until the last couple of years. But I don't know, just not as buttoned up with what's appropriate for children to say. It might who knows? I don't care if anyone thinks I'm whatever, but they turned out all right.
Yeah, no, I think that's nice. I mean, I think that's every household has its own dynamics and rules, so I don't think people
Yeah.
should judge that. Especially everything's turning out pretty good. You guys have a great relationship, and you
Yeah.
have your podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're like calling, like calling me names or anything.
Right, I get
There
that.
was a respect, but there was also there's a mutual respect actually because I never required them to, mom's always right. I mean, because mom is not always right, for sure.
That's
That kind
nice.
of thing. So,
Yeah, yeah. It brings I don't I guess it would be like levity to the situation,
yeah.
to any kind of tension and things like that, knowing that you could clearly communicate. It's kind of like, yeah, I don't want to go to the level of like mom being a friend, because I know that's kind of,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you become a friend
Yeah.
as you get older, and you need that
Hmm.
advice. Like I value like my friendship with both of my parents now,
Sure.
which I wouldn't have called it that 20 years ago.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And we have a friendship and they know I'm their mom first, friend second,
right,
you know.
right.
So,
It's cool. It's
yeah.
cool to see you guys on the podcast, and just
Oh,
like
thanks.
the lightness of it as well. Would recommend it to anyone that wants to
Yeah.
check that out, read the room. But has that, we kind of just touched on this, but has been doing comedy with Madison been like, how has that strengthened your relationship?
Oh, it's been great. We were pretty close before, but it's given us a common goal. And now we have this whole common group of friends too. So it gives us more to talk about.
Mhm.
And it's like she'll call me on the way home from a show she does, and I'll do the same. And it's just like we talk more. I mean, we were close before I said that already, but it's just given us a common interest and a community. I mean, that's one thing I definitely wanted to say is that comedy's given me a community that I didn't realize I was missing, kind of, especially after COVID. But
Right. I get that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's come up also, like searching for that community. And
Mhm.
I'm, like I said, newer than you. I'm still trying to like ingratiate myself there. I notice I'm like getting more of a community with the older comics. Like that was
Mhm.
also
Yeah.
a reason to kind of do this podcast too. It seems like I've always like gravitated toward older folks, like in terms of
Mhm.
mentors and stuff like that. But how do you each work differently? Like how would you say Madison's comedy style and yours are different?
Oh, Madison has a comfort on stage that I dream of having because of all of her background, and she does very is much better at like act outs
Okay.
and being more physical on stage with her comedy. I'm not as stiff as I used to be, but I don't move around as much. Um, but we're both the comedian, the comedy's kind of similar, very observational and personal, biographical, biological. It's biological comedy, Steve. Gross.
That's gross. Back to our earlier
Yeah,
conversation.
exactly. Exactly. Um, and it's fun, and we don't look that much alike, so it took a long time, even though our last name is Christ, basically. It took people a long time to realize that we were mother and daughter because we don't like act like mother and daughter, we act like kind of friends.
Yeah.
Um, in everyone anyway. So it's cool. So you say I hang out with a bunch of 30 somethings now because of comedy, which is fun. But and older folks too, but
Yeah.
the majority are like right around Mad's age, so it's kind of crazy
Yeah, I see that
in a
too.
good
I
way.
think most scenes are like that. Yeah, around like 30. It's
Yeah.
probably the average age of open mic
Yeah.
scene, really.
Yeah.
So what are some things or bits that you're working on that like really work for you right now?
Oh, um, yeah, I'm working on trying to be oh, they're not well. Some things that really work are talk about my time in Spain when I was in the 80s when I went as a college person, and a summer romance over there is kind of funny. That does well. I talking about getting older and how I have my own spin on it. I don't, yeah. I guess I don't know. I make fun of myself a lot. People are like, you always make fun of your husband. I'm like, really, it's me making fun of myself more than him. Talking about being a long married and all that kind of crazy stuff. I watch a lot of reality TV, which is um, fun to talk about sometimes.
That's
I don't know
cool.
how, yeah.
Yeah, no, no, and some of it I see when I was clicking through your podcast. There's some clips. I think you all were talking about Love Island or something.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
reality TV stuff doesn't surprise me. That's a gold mine for material, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, is there anything that you have right now that's kind of like a bit that's just for you or just to make comics laugh, but maybe it doesn't go over well with audiences?
Yeah, I'm trying to work on this. I'm trying to be more edgy in my dotage, in my old age. And it's not, I haven't figured it out yet, but it's like, yeah, I'm getting gifts. The gifts I get now are books to preserve my memories, stuff like that. And um my algorithm is filled with walk-in shower ads and stuff like that, and I think it's funny, and I think some people are like, oh shit, that sounds terrible. But I'm trying to work it out. I'm still working on it, but it's not there yet, but and I think it'll be a good chunk of material once I get it all figured out to people not feeling sorry for me. Because you know, I prefer to think that they feel sorry for me other than it's just not funny because I think it's funny.
Right. I had that happen the other night. I had written something down. It was like it went a little dark of like for like me and I was like, wow,
Mhm.
okay. I said this got too real. It's too sad. I was like, I thought that was funny when I just wrote it while I was
Yeah.
waiting to come up. But yeah, I get that. Again, all goes back to the balance, I think.
Hmm.
What's your process like for developing material and writing?
Oh, I listened to Kevin's and his was so structured. I wish I was that structured.
Me too.
Um,
Yeah.
I write down ideas and then I've been trying to just have like bullet points and then get on a certain open mics are really good for um just kind of going up and seeing throwing things out there and seeing what works and not and what doesn't work. I'm trying to be more like that so it's more free form. Um, and then I just keep then I listen to it sometimes. I'll be honest. I'm not very disciplined as a writer. I hope to do more of that, but just open micing and trying different things and then trying it again and editing,
Yeah.
editing and taking stuff out that I don't really want to take out sometimes, but I'm like, okay, no one needs this. This is just for me and not for the audience. It doesn't add anything. Because I get weird with words. Like I like kind of fancy words sometimes, and I've had teachers tell me like your vocabulary is a little unrelatable sometimes, and I'm like, well, this is how I talk. So
Yeah, I think if you could weave it into, I think that's often a funny juxtaposition when you can have fancy words, so to speak. I mean, we are all writers, but
yeah.
everyone's, Fitzgerald and Bukowski are two very different types of writers, right? So you kind
Hmm.
of see that from across the board with comedians as well. I also have a hard time listening to myself back, especially if I know
Yeah.
it didn't go well, which is obvious. It's just human nature, but I've been trying to get better at that as well.
Yeah.
Kevin's process is crazy. I mean, he's
He's so structured. Yeah.
dedicated. Yeah. So you
And
both on the same scene? You're not in Dallas though, right?
yeah, I'm in
Or you're
Dallas.
in Dallas. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we are. We've been on shows together, and he's always at the Thursday open mic that I don't get to very often, but I have been to, and he's more at Backdoor, which is a great club, and
Hmm.
I would say Dallas Comedy Club is more of my home club. In fact,
Okay.
I just started to run the open mic there on Sunday afternoons, so I'm excited about that.
Well,
So
that's great.
yeah.
He had mentioned you can kind of get up a lot in
Hmm.
Dallas. There's at least like 20 mics a week potentially, or more than that.
Yeah, between
Places.
Dallas and Fort Worth, I would say, yeah, in the suburbs in between and around. Yeah, yeah, until you're in it. I mean, my husband and I, when I first started, he's like, I can't believe how much comedy is out there. And I'm like, me too. I mean, I had no idea until you start looking for it. So,
Yeah. It's nice to see. And why, if you had to guess, why do you think that is? Because it's a national, I think, trend. Why do you think comedy is so big right now?
hmm, um, I, I think that the state of our country right now is helping comedy because people need an escape.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, in my more pensive moments, sometimes I feel like, and this might be too much of a statement, but I feel like stand-up comedy is kind of like the poetry readings and stuff in the 30s and 40s of
Mm.
Europe. I just feel like there's a, and I don't do much political stuff at all, because I'm in Texas and they won't like what I have to say generally. But I think there's a sense of power in saying what needs to be said or
That's
hearing.
no,
Yeah,
that's well put.
yeah.
Yeah. I
I
didn't, that
mean,
wasn't a prepared question either, so I
yeah,
didn't expect you to have a prepared answer,
yeah.
but I agree with that. And it's hard, and a lot of what comes up in these conversations, sort of, but more when I'm talking to fellow comics of like, well, I don't want to get political up there, but we all kind of get political. I mean, for me, it's about, I touch on like economics, I can talk about
Hmm.
more that I can weave that in with, you know, porn or whatever. But it's
Hmm.
like, I like the economic disparity because my work historically has been in social services.
Hmm. Oh,
So
yeah,
that's my worldview, right? So I'm going to
sure.
bring that to the table. Um, so I think that's necessary. And yeah, the state of the country, you do have to be really smart if you're going
Hmm.
to do that. I mean, it took like Carlin coming back in the 80s during Reagan to have a resurgence in his career. So
Hmm.
there's parallels there. It makes sense. Yeah.
And I haven't done much studying of this. I mean, not that I would, but I've just been told that, stand-up comedy is definitely kind of a cyclical thing, and it's kind of in a rebirth right now. Not a rebirth, but it's super popular right now. And a teacher told me that at some point, but I don't even remember. But I dream of being like Caleb, and I love Caleb Heron, and I would like have seen him live, and I would love to have a following that knows exactly where I stand, and so you can just say things freely like he does, politically and stuff, because
Right.
everyone that's there knows who he is. But I don't know. I also think it's a big part of stand up is escaping from the craziness. So it's more fun to laugh about reality TV than to try and make a big social statement.
That's true. And despite the hot water given the UFC situation, I
Oh,
know Nate Bargatze did have a good quote of saying like, "Okay, you made a point, but where's the joke?" I think there's some quote recently, probably from like the Hot Breath podcast or whatever. So,
mhm.
like again, like you're saying, people want to escape, and also you have to be well prepared to do that kind of material. You better
Yeah.
know that it's going to grab people, and if your goal is to change someone's mind through laughter, that's a lofty goal. So
Yeah. And I would say my goal, well, I would say that my goal would not be to change people's mind, but just to have people know that they're not alone out there. Because especially, I don't know, especially in the Texas climate, it's kind of crazy, in
yeah,
my
I
opinion.
mean, I'm sure. I have we had some friends from who moved up here from Austin
Yeah.
actually, and they several years back, and they said like Austin's the well, at least then was like the blueberry in the middle of a tomato patch or something like that.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
they
Well, and Dallas is blue. I mean, the big cities are
major
blue,
cities,
but
yeah,
it's just you you never know. And what's fun, Steve, is that people see me and they think the opposite of what I am, they think
right.
I'm not gonna think the way I do necessarily. So it's
Exactly.
fun
They think you're gonna come with like a, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't
a
want
red
to
hat
offend you.
or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
disgusting like that. Anyway, so
Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy
yeah,
right now, but I think that's why comedy's needed. So I appreciate your perspective on that. Thank you for
yeah.
sharing that.
Well, thanks.
So just a couple more things. What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to start comedy at your age, middle age, any age, what would you say to them?
Nike, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting question. I would say go for it. If you think you want to try it because you
Hmm.
don't know until you do. Um, I also refuse to think like, oh, I should have started 20 years ago. Maybe, but I wasn't ready yet. I kind of like to think things happen the way they're supposed to happen. Um, and I was busy doing other stuff. So, I would just say go for it because you never know until you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even know.
Um, and to that point, what do you think your younger self would say about your decision to start stand up? How would they view it?
I think my younger self and that, even though I just said I wouldn't do this, I think my self would say it's about time.
Hmm.
Um, and I think she'd be kind of jazzed that I'm not like laying down and being like, okay, waiting for something to happen instead of going out and making my life happen. I don't know. Yeah.
I
Not
get
to
it.
get too deep, but it's just like, what am I going to do? Sit home and watch TV all day? I mean, I could, but it's not very fun. It's just not fun. I don't know. It's just the part of the thing about the community of the comedy community is that we're all kind of working towards a common goal. So there's like a vulnerability that is shared with everyone that I think is really beautiful. And we're all kind of weird and we just accept it and just I don't know. It's been really cool for me as an old lady to like learn that it's okay to be whatever I want to be. I don't know. That's
No, that's great. Yeah, if you don't like that, I like that.
I don't want to turn into Stuart Smalley, and you're and that's okay. But
You turn the mirror.
yeah,
What a great character.
yeah,
Yeah, we actually talked about this earlier because we ended that could it's usually the end here, but like
yeah.
the SNL eras, like what was your favorite?
Oh wow.
You've seen it all, so
Yeah, not I haven't seen as much recently. I mean, but I remember babysitting and falling asleep to Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi and the first ones. Um I love Chris Farley. I think that he was amazing. Yeah, there's so much, and Eddie
there
Murphy
is.
on SNL. Yeah, there's just so much. I named our youngest dog is named Farley after Chris Farley.
Oh, that's
So,
cute.
which
That's
is
really cool.
fun. He doesn't quite have the physical comedy chops, but he's working on it.
Oh,
So,
uh,
yeah, and the SNL, there's a ton of Will Ferrell. I mean, there's a ton of SNL that's
yeah.
iconic.
And
So,
that's something that like ebbs and flows. I think back to earlier,
mhm.
I feel like also the more divided we are politically, or the more the heavier it gets, whatever. I feel like it's gotten more popular again over the past decade than maybe
Yeah.
the previous. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and it's still one of those few shows that is like everyone watches at the same time, and I think
Hmm.
that's why Love Island is so much fun because, we don't have Thursday night TV like we used to when, in the 90s when everyone was watching the same night, the same stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, and I like to binge a show too, but it's a different animal than it used to be.
Yeah, that's a good. And sorry, I don't want to like belabor this, but a comic told me maybe like a decade ago, he said, we're all going to stop watching TV and everyone's going to have their TV tailored to them on their phone. And I'm like, I don't really like that idea. I'm like, that's crazy. Now I'm like, I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
We are literally all in our own little worlds. And I think that's why it helps for people who don't want to sit around and
Hmm.
and be lost in that going out doing mics is like puts you in touch with actual reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after COVID, I just realized I had so many, and I got into life coaching during COVID. Um, so I had a ton of virtual relationships, via
Okay.
Zoom with people, but it's like I wasn't seeing anyone in real life anymore. And comedy has really helped that. Even though I didn't start till 24, but it's like, yeah, and it's time to get out of the house again.
Right. No, I agree with you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal. And people are still struggling with it, especially younger
Mhm.
people. That's a different podcast. I've been having
Yeah.
conversations all week about Gen Z being let's say, like the first generation that has worse communication skills than their parents.
Mm,
And I mean, it's mainly COVID. I feel like COVID and
yeah.
technology. So,
Yeah. I could
yeah.
see that. I could see that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I don't
Thank
want
you so
to
much. Yeah.
abruptly end or anything, but is there anything else you want to share? Where can we find you? That kind of stuff.
Darcy Chris Comedy on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook too. I don't do much on there. And then Read the Room podcast is Read the Room Pod X3. Um, and we're on all the socials and also all YouTube and all the podcast platform.
Great.
You can just listen, but we have my future son-in-law does our editing, so our video is a lot more fun than just listening.
I
Because
was wondering who produced it. That's
yeah,
cool. I was like, wow, this is a really well edited and produced podcast.
yeah.
That's
Thank
great.
goodness for Drew because I don't know if it'd be happening. And I told him, I said, "You're pretty lucky because, well, we're lucky because he does this for us." But I said, "You're pretty lucky because you get to make reels roasting your future mother-in-law pretty much every week." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess." Anyway, he's a great guy. Anyway, it's
Very
great.
cool.
So,
Very cool. Well,
well,
thank you so much.
thank you. It's really nice to meet you, and
Nice
thank
to
you for
meet you as
having
well.
me. I hope
You-
more old people take the plunge,
Thank you, and
or
I hope
any
I have them on
people.
here.
Yeah, and whoever wants to, you don't hold back. Give it a try and see what happens for you. So it's fun.
It's great.
That's my life coach advice.